Onorato and Miller, obviously going to struggle through this one.
Oh, gosh.
We'll talk about how I am when I get sick. But the voice
is always the thing to go.
Goes. Anyway, Ash will handle most of this, I'm sure.
Oh, sure.
So you don't have to endure the pain of listening to me. Maybe it warms up and gets better as we go. I've basically done no talking the last 2 days, which is my MO. When I'm sick, don't talk to me. I don't want to be around people. Leave me alone. So I've tried to do that for the last couple of days. All right. We got a lot to do, though, on the show here, even though it's a week off between championship games.
Is this the worst week of the year?
Super Bowl? Maybe.
I mean, for sports talk,
I think so, because it becomes so
you can't talk about the Super Bowl for a whole week and then talk about it again for another week. And it's not the time to dive into NBA yet.
It's a good thing the Chiefs are going for 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know what you could create talk-wise to carry yourself through a
rematch.
Week. And a rematch. And as I called it, the Super Bowl America didn't want. Let's go. It's Onorato and Miller.
This is Onorato and Miller, sponsored by Albany House.
Albany House, Marcella's, Bev's, Novice, and Performance Industrial. All right, Ash, the week off between conference championship games and the Super Bowl. Yeah.
He's hoarse, all right.
Yeah.
He's hoarse.
I know.
You weren't on the news today.
No. I'm trying to do the viewers a favor.
Chris slept for 50.
And trying to do the smart thing by not going into work when I don't feel well.
15 hours you slept last night.
Did I? I mean, I did middle of the day.
2:30 p.m.-ish?
Yeah, to like 9 p.m.
To 9 p.m. Then you went back to sleep.
Yeah.
And then slept till 5:30.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you know.
Yeah. And then I tried to sleep more today, and I got annoyed with my inability to fall asleep because I just wanted to sleep and not think about how much my throat hurt. Okay.
I'm clearly
let's move on.
Playing with fire here.
Bills fall to 0-4 versus the Chiefs in the last 5 postseasons. I am not interested in the refs conversation.
No, me neither.
At all.
Me neither. I'm done with that. Especially this time. I'm done with that. Yeah, I'm good with it.
I understand Patrick Mahomes gets calls that other quarterbacks do not get. Guess what? The best players in the sport, in any sport, get calls that other players don't get. And yes, unfortunately, that is something you have to overcome as an opponent. Yep. But you have to know that going in. You know what? Probably going to be 1 or 2 calls in this game that go against us. Can we put ourselves in a position that that 1 or 2 calls don't blow the game for us? Yeah. And the Bills have not done that. 0-4 in the last 5 postseasons. That includes a home loss last year in the divisional round.
And there wasn't a call so egregious in this game like there has been in past games where you get the 15-yard flag for hitting Patrick Mahomes late. There wasn't any of that. The only call that I thought should have gone differently was the call that got awarded on the ball that was like basically a jump ball and hit the ground. Yep. Okay, that should be incomplete. It shouldn't be a catch. It shouldn't be an interception. It should be incomplete. End of story. That didn't change the game. At no point in this game, I said this to you, even when the Bills were up 22-21, I think it was, I did not feel like the Buffalo Bills were going to win the game. Yeah. I felt like anytime Patrick Mahomes got the ball back or the Bills took the lead, the Chiefs would have it back however many minutes later. Xavier Worthy had an incredible game. And that's like we were talking about. It's crazy how you've got receivers on the bench like Hopkins, who barely plays at all. Yeah. And that's a weapon that I'm sure could be utilized at sometimes. But like that's when you know you're pretty good. You're doing all right when DeAndre Hopkins is kind of riding the pine. They're just a really good team, and they show up at the right time. Patrick Mahomes, until Patrick Mahomes leaves this league, I'm not sure that Josh Allen's ever going to get out from under his shadow.
Yeah. And, there are so many comps to make between the Jordan era and now maybe the Mahomes era. Brady, maybe not so much because he went through a number of different teams from quarterback-wise, Kurt Warner to Jake Delhomme to Donovan McNabb.
Played a bunch of different ones.
But
Eli Manning.
Mahomes continues to stand in the way of Josh Allen, another great. And so does he become kind of the Karl Malone here? It's not a perfect, maybe Jalen Hurts becomes the Malone if he loses twice here to Mahomes. And I called it the Super Bowl nobody wants, and we'll get to whether or not we think this is Sean McDermott's fault. Because people get tired of the same thing, and that is the Chiefs winning a Super Bowl. It's not only a three-peat, but it would be 4 in the last 5 years. And then it's a Philadelphia fan base that most of America can't stand. I mean, a guy died because he fell from climbing a pole during the celebration. Like, just smart decisions don't seem to be made by fan bases in general, but seemingly more in Philadelphia. The last time Philly celebrated anything, the cops were out greasing poles
Crisco.
ahead of time
All the time.
because they knew we're going to have morons climbing these things.
They still do it.
They still did it.
Yeah.
So people are going to watch the Super Bowl no matter what, and I will watch the Super Bowl, but I don't have a strong rooting. I will root for the Chiefs. I will root for the Chiefs because I often fall on the side of witnessing history, and 3 in a row has never been done. So I will be rooting for the Chiefs.
I like that. And I think I told you the other day, I'll be rooting for the Chiefs.
And then no more. I don't want 4 in a row. I don't want 5 and 6.
I don't no more from me.
No more. I don't want any more after that from Kansas City.
Oh, well, that's not exactly how it works, I don't think. But for me, the only Super Bowl worse than this was Patriots-Eagles, because I hated the Eagles are a division rival. I've hated them for a long time. I did cheer for Donovan McNabb because he's my guy.
Sure. And who did you root for in that Super Bowl?
The Eagles.
Yeah. See, I rooted for New England because my theory was if you don't like the Philadelphia fan base, don't give them the ammo of a Super Bowl title. New England's already got a bunch. Who cares? We can endure one more.
Wow, they're so annoying.
And I don't have, maybe I'm wrong. I don't live in middle America, but it doesn't seem like the Chiefs fans are insufferable. Maybe I'm wrong. If you feel differently, shout me out. But
I know a few that live around here that are,
okay.
Which is interesting because, like, why?
Yeah.
But you are fans of whatever you are.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's talk about this. Everybody's talking about it. Is Sean McDermott the problem in Buffalo? He's been to the play. Remember, this is a franchise that could not get to the playoffs after they lost 4 straight Super Bowls. He's taken the team to the playoffs 7 of his 8 years. He's gotten to 2 AFC championship games. But sometimes they're just change for the sake of change, right? You've done great for us, but you can't get us past a certain point. And so maybe McDermott becomes the fall guy here.
I was going to say the scapegoat because
maybe, right? Maybe Buffalo looks at it and just says, we don't know if this is going to work. We don't know that we're now all of a sudden going to be able to beat Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but we're going to make a change here to see if it does work. Now, I have felt for the last couple of years the Bills need to change their head coach just to see what happens. But I also don't think this is Sean McDermott's fault.
I don't either.
Andy Reid is a Hall of Fame coach. Patrick Mahomes might be the greatest quarterback ever. And so the fact that you lose to them year after year, right?
It makes you second best.
Punishment.
Yeah. Like it. and that's my thing. Like, I don't think that Sean McDermott's the problem. I think Andy Reid's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment to Andy Reid. Andy Reid is the franchise leader in wins in 2 cities with 2 football teams. Not only with Kansas City, he's the franchise leader with Philadelphia for as many coaching wins as he has. That is almost impossible to do. He is the problem. And, oh, by the way, he just happened to draft the next coming of Tom Brady. Not Tom Brady. They're not nearly the same quarterback. But he could go down as the greatest quarterback of all time. He's got 3 Super Bowls already, and he's going for a 4th.
Yeah.
And he's how old?
28.
Boy.
Yeah.
Like, and the guy's not going to play till he's 40 like Tom Brady probably, but if he gets another 8 years in, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen just, I'm sure you do feel for him.
You
right?
got, and you started to get that feeling of like, boy, like he's such a good dude, says most of the right things. And it just feels like a little bit of like, when do you give up? And it's not, you're obviously never going to give up, but like, boy, when is this ever going to change? I'm not sure it's ever going to change unless the situation changes. And I don't think you can change it all that much.
I would say if the Bills make a coaching change, here's the problem. If they make a coaching change, you have to give it to Joe Brady. He's already had interviews for other head coaching positions. You can't pass him over and expect to keep him. I would like to see the Bills hire an offensive guy, but I'm not sure that Joe Brady is going to fix all that ails you. So, yeah, I said this during the game. I hate going for 2 so early.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a sheet and a chart that tells you when to go for 2 and when not to go for 2. But just as often as people are now going for it on 4th down, they're now going for it for 2. And Brian's right. I mean, you end up chasing points because you're not converting on those 2-point conversions. I also didn't love the play calls that went along with some of those 2-point conversions, right? So, yeah. What did I just do?
I don't know. Just minimized us. It's okay.
Sam is checking in from the Siena women's basketball game. It is the Pink Zone game.
I love
raising
that game.
money for breast cancer awareness. Yeah, it's a great thing that they do every single year. Ed, you are so right. Ash could do and probably should do the show by herself.
I definitely can't. Chris is very talented in the arena of talking to himself.
Oh, gosh.
I am not as talented in that arena. I like talking to Chris and ping-ponging, whatever. I can't sit here and just talk sports and respond to comments for 58 minutes and 30 seconds. Not my strong suit.
We'll do our Dirty Difficult done. We'll do our Marcella's MVP of the month.
Know what we're not doing this week? Picks.
No picks, no records.
Picks.
We'll bring it back next week.
And we believe, I mean, I'm not going to give anything away. It's not like a secret. We believe, based on what our records were last week, I went 0-2. Chris went 1-1, that we will be tied. It's kind of amazing. You almost can't make it up.
Yeah, full year.
Our records will be tied going into the Super Bowl week. Super Bowl will decide.
Okay. I mean, I guess we should just be
tied.
Forced to pick,
like flip a coin,
opposing teams. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
I mean, don't tell me who you're picking. We'll just do just reply only to John.
Okay. Can do that.
Then I don't make a decision based on trying to beat you.
All right, let's take a break here. Kevin Herter gets an honor at his former high school. Really cool. Obviously, was going to happen at some point, but still.
I mean, if you're going to do it, might as well be him, right?
Very cool to see. Tommy Canely signs outside of New York. I'm bummed about the Max Scherzer signing.
You wanted him?
Wanted him.
Oh, God.
And Performance Industrial's Dirty Difficult done. Marcella's MVP of the month. Back in a minute.
Great memories start with Alpen House. Amsterdam, Clifton Park, and High Adventure in Latham.
I'm Jeff Ukelek. I'm owner of Bev's, and we're a beverage center in upstate New York. You're just going to have that wow component when you come in, like, wow, look at this place. It's bright, it's clean, it has everything that I need. Consumer is king. Be able to provide them a friendly environment and a place to shop, no matter where they are, whether they're down here in Saratoga or whether they're up in Queensbury. You're always going to get the same experience when you shop at Bev's. At the end of the day, if you walk in your stores, you're going to see a lot of people that have a lot of pride.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpen House.
Ashley is in the eye of the storm. See, I breathe fine. Watch.
I don't know if that's fine.
Mostly fine. I'm at a 75% nasal passage capacity.
Okay. No one wants to hear you breathing.
But the voice.
Yeah. You have a cough.
Yeah. Not good. And I know it's cliche, stereotypical.
It's all of the things.
Yeah. I am not fun to be around when I'm sick. I And look, it works both ways.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around any of you either. So trust me, I'm not going to put myself in social situations where you have to deal with me being
doubt.
miserable. I am happy to stay on the couch, sleeping if I can,
Mhm.
and not talking to anyone. That is a dream for me when I'm sick because I am insufferable to deal with.
My bosses tonight were like, good luck. Put up the walls and
Yeah.
don't get whatever he has. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, good luck to me. I got to
Separate-
do the pod.
Separate rooms.
Yeah, but
The germs are just, they're around.
yeah, no doubt.
Does spraying Lysol help? I don't know.
Maybe.
But this happens every time I get sick. Sore throat and
Lose
inevitably
your voice.
some level of losing my voice.
But this is the worst.
And so then I
It's been a
don't
while.
want to, we
Yeah.
went had lunch, couldn't be in the house for part of the day yesterday. So I get home from work and we go to lunch. Shout out Carson's. Love that place. And I just feel like I don't want to be here. I don't want to have a conversation. It's loud. I'm going to have to project too much with my voice. I can't. And so I know this has got to be an awful experience for Ashley.
You should have told me, shut up, bring a book, and read.
Ooh, that's
I would have done that for you.
without the first part. That's a thought. Imagine we just show up to a restaurant
Books.
reading
You'd be
together.
like, there are those people?
Yeah.
Boy, they don't like each other that much?
Okay. So Carol's going to lead us into Kevin Herter getting his number retired. Shen, I wasn't sick on Tuesday. Was I sick on Tuesday? I don't think I was sick on Tuesday.
It's
Not-
only Thursday.
Not
so,
to the point anyway where I felt like, oh, I can't leave the house.
no,
kind
but
of
you had a
thing.
headache. You didn't feel
Yeah.
well.
So anyway, Kev gets his number retired at Shen, which is awesome. It comes at a strange point in his NBA career.
Yeah.
Because the Kings are basically in like reboot mode
Yeah.
here. They apparently are going to entertain trade offers for their best, well, arguably their best players,
Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox.
Yep.
Maybe it's DeMontis Sabonis.
One of their best players.
And Kev's numbers have been reduced. There's already been a head coaching change this year. Mike Brown is out. So the Kings are in a transition spot here, but still so cool to see Kev get the love that he got. Place was packed. They were playing.
Everybody was there.
Your school shaker.
They were playing my school.
He had the fam there.
Jill was there.
Good.
I saw the
Okay.
photo.
I
Looked
know
back.
I saw Megan,
Yep.
Kevin's girlfriend, and
Yep.
Thomas and his wife. And yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Only the second number ever to be retired by Shen. He's already the logo. So obviously he was going to have his number retired.
Do you know who the other is?
Greg Kubek.
Oh, I was going to say. I imagined it was Greg Kubek,
Yeah.
but who knows? That school pumps out enough really good athletes in
Yep.
general.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the logo. This is a guy, I think anytime you get a guy who makes it to the NBA, and not only makes it, but is playing into a second contract.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about a second contract. Like it hasn't been a cup of coffee in the NBA. This has been, he's played well enough to earn a second contract. And I do think he, despite his minutes being reduced, maybe he's not in the best situation right now. Played 10 minutes last night, actually played decent in his 10 minutes. Maybe he needs to go to a situation where he's a little more respected, needed. I'm not sure what the word is.
Yeah,
but
he has value
yeah, for sure.
in this league,
Mhm.
and he will find the right place for him.
Yeah.
I really have no doubt. All right, well, we're on the topic here of locals.
Oh, by the way, Shaker won
Yes.
both games.
Ooh. Shaker
same
grad
game.
Tommy Canley. I don't know if there was an offer from the Yankees. I was looking for that today, scrolling Twitter or X. But he goes to the Tigers, and Detroit has made some interesting investments this year. Now, are they good enough to beat the Guardians or Twins in the NL Central? The AL Central, don't know. But that bullpen was good last year.
And it's good again.
They had another really good piece in Canley. Good for him.
Yeah.
I mean,
How do you pass that up? And I was going to say, between the Hoffman contract
Yeah.
in Toronto and
Yeah.
this contract, these guys from Shaker are doing really, really well for themselves. Yeah, you can't pass it up. Even if it was like, and maybe if it was 1 year 5 from the Yankees, he still would have said, okay, I'll stay because it's close to home.
Yeah.
They live in Latham.
Yeah.
He stays in New York. That makes it. But you go where you're most wanted. And seemingly he was most wanted in Detroit. And obviously the 7.75.
Yeah.
There's value there.
Sam, you're on it. Yep. There have been talks of maybe the Nets being interested.
That'd be so great.
In the offseason, there was interest from Utah San Antonio, and even Boston in the offseason. So we'll see. That he will
That would be
land
cool.
somewhere. The trade deadline is February 6th. We'll see if Sacramento moves on De'Aaron Fox and somebody like Kev.
Yeah.
All right, you found this, Ash, before the show. I did not see it up until showtime. Scherzer gets a deal done with the Blue Jays. They were set all offseason really to be the most interested in Max. He gets a nice one-year contract here. I would have loved him in Atlanta.
And they missed out on some other big names that I think they wanted. So this was like, hey, if he can come be our third best pitcher, even that, like, and
he'll be fourth.
And if he
fourth or fifth, really
gets healthy, which was his biggest problem last year, if the dude gets healthy, he could be your second best pitcher. Like, he could kind of come out of left field and be a really good pitcher. But he made 9 starts all of last year. He was 2-4. Like that, you got to get him right. But the upside, I don't think there's, other than the $15 million, I don't think there's a lot of downside to it.
No, I would have loved him. I mean, the Braves have rolled the dice on people like Chris Sale in the past.
And look how that worked out for him.
No doubt. I would have loved that.
It's a little bit, like you said, it's a roll of the dice. Like that Sale thing could have gone sideways, and it could very well be the same.
Could be ugly with Sale, right? To trust that he's going to make it through an entire season.
But to have like an MVP Cy Young caliber season is kind of crazy from a guy like that.
I'll get to the news on Ravens kicker Justin Tucker and what has come out, the allegations against him. Our MVP of the month leading into Super Bowl week. We're back in a minute here on Onorato and Miller.
At Marcella's Appliance Center, our commitment is to you, providing essential appliances that families depend on. For cooking, refrigeration, cleaning, and sanitation, plus appliance repair, you can have peace of mind that Marcella's is here for you today and every day, like we have been since 1957, helping you make the right choice with trusted brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and many more. Shop Marcella's Appliance Center in-store, online, or by phone. We're here for you.
The great thing about novices, no matter who you are, they're going to put all the detail in the world into your brand. I feel like they have been a big part of my success, making me feel comfortable.
This is Harrison Butker, Super Bowl champion kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. Claim your crown.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpen House.
Alpen House, Marcella's, Bev's, Novice, Performance Industrial. The clock is ticking on how long I will actually last through this show. Let's get to our Dirty Difficult done.
And now, Dirty, Difficult, and Done. Sponsored by Performance Industrial.
And a shout out to Bill Miller, Karen Miller, their great team at Performance Industrial. There's never a job that's too dirty or too difficult for them to get it done. Ash, you know how this goes.
I'm first today. I almost wrote something else, but then I wasn't sure if I had already said Adrian Autry gets a free pass through next season, because my Dirty Difficult Done was going to be, it's difficult to imagine Adrian Autry making it through beyond this season, because, and I decided, you know what, I'll just go with Syracuse basketball is not only difficult to watch, they're basically unwatchable. It is so bad. It's gone from like, mediocre to like really, really bad. I mean, they were down 17-0 last night to Stanford.
They were an 11.5-point underdog at Stanford. They covered, but they were an 11.5-point underdog at Stanford.
Yeah. I mean, when you're down 17 zip and 25-2 to Stanford in basketball, we've got problems. It's been a tough go. And the reason that I will continue to believe that Syracuse is going to give Autry another year is because of how good the recruiting class is coming in. And listen, let's be clear. It's okay. It's not, I don't know that it's all that good, but you have 3 4-star recruits. That's good enough for you to say, like, you know what? You want those guys to come here. You want them to stay committed to Syracuse. If you get rid of Autry, he goes bye-bye. But they've been injured, and it's not an excuse. But like JJ Starling is their leading scorer at 17 points a game. He's only played in 2/3 of their games because he's been hurt. Donnie Freeman is a 5-star recruit that they brought in. And he's averaging like 13 and 8 for a freshman. That's pretty good, but they don't have the star power. And I think hopefully they'll bring some of that in next year, but they've been atrocious.
Well, here's what we know. winning in college athletics is no longer about recruiting high school kids. It's about,
Yeah.
can you recruit in the portal, and do you have NIL backing to get the best players? It isn't about, are you a coach that can schmooze the living room? Are your facilities top rated? The kid would rather get paid than have an amusement park in the locker room like Clemson does, right? And so I guess I would ask, what's the biggest challenge here? Is it that the university doesn't have NIL money? We saw Fran Brown recruit in the portal really well, and they went 10-3, counting the bowl win. Does Adrian Autry, is that where he needs to win? Is there not enough NIL money? Are we talking about Adam Weitzman getting involved and backing the basketball program the way he used to?
I think he's kind of done there.
Is it a central New York issue? The SEC is the best basketball conference in the country.
And that happened very quickly. It went from the ACC bar none to the SEC.
Now, let me tell you something.
In like
that's
3 years.
Money.
Oh,
that is money.
Yeah.
Old
school.
SMU is an
money.
ACC school.
But they might as well be an SEC school.
There's no question.
Or a Big 12 school.
So, I don't know what the real problem is here with Syracuse basketball, but I don't know that the turnaround is any quick fix.
Yeah, I don't know that it is either, but it would just be fun to be like competitive and not like you're 3-7 in the ACC, but it's not even like the losses so much as 15 minutes in, I'm all set. I don't want to watch anymore because we're down by 20. Like we lost by 30 to Maryland, 40 to Tennessee. And these are obviously like Tennessee's a very good basketball team, but all right, lose by like 15 or 20. You know what I mean? And even in the ACC, when your like best win is Boston College or Notre Dame, which Notre Dame isn't even all that good.
No.
It's just not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Yeah. All right. This is a quote, not a statement from me. Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner says it's difficult to spend like the Dodgers. Apparently it's difficult to spend like the Mets too. Now they've spent in other areas. They just clearly were not going to go all in on Juan Soto. But it isn't just Soto or Ohtani that makes the Yankees look bad. It's all the other additions that LA makes.
Yeah.
It's like when a guy's sitting around for a while, it's like, oh, Kirby Yates? Yeah, we'll take you too.
Yeah. Well,
you made an all-star team last year. You've refound yourself as a really good bullpen arm. Come on in.
Yeah.
Now it helps when you win as much as the Dodgers have. World Series championships make it easier to spend. I mean, they are like tax threshold be damned. Doesn't matter. But clearly Hal has a very different mentality towards this business than his father did.
Yeah. And listen, it's difficult to spend like the Dodgers. His father spent like the Dodgers, but also didn't spend like the Dodgers. We weren't talking billions back then. Different. So while he was spending a lot more than everyone else, it wasn't quite like this. Like they're spending so much more than everyone else, maybe outside of the Mets, but they're spending so much more than the Yankees, which like, who would have ever thought anyone was spending so much more than the Yankees ever? Even when the Yankees weren't good, they were still outspending everyone on bad contracts and anything else.
And I'll say this, I like the additions that the Yankees have made this offseason. Don't question any of their moves. It's like, okay, we couldn't get Soto. We pivot to what's next. And maybe they're a better team, as hard as that is to believe. Maybe they're a better team next year because they didn't go all in on Soto. And we talked about this. It was just too difficult to look Aaron Judge in the eyes and say, we're paying you $40 million a year. We're going to pay Juan Soto $65 million a year. You just couldn't do that. Soto plays a very average outfield and probably won't play the outfield for too much more of his career. You had to keep Judge as the highest paid guy on your roster. You just had to.
It'd be nice if he could play like Soto in the postseason.
Yeah, that would be nice. That's obviously an issue. All right. Another quick time out here on Onorato and Miller. We've got our Marcella's MVP of the month. If you've been watching the NFL playoffs, you probably already know.
At Marcella's Appliance Center, our commitment is to you, providing essential appliances that families depend on. For cooking, refrigeration, cleaning, and sanitation, plus appliance repair, you can have peace of mind that Marcella's is here for you today and every day, like we have been since 1957, helping you make the right choice with trusted brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and many more. Shop Marcella's Appliance Center in-store, online, or by phone. We're here for you.
Great memories start with Alpenhaus. Amsterdam, Clifton Park, and High Adventure in Latham.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpenhaus.
The FireWolves, Zac Masson coming up in about 10 minutes. Interesting story to his professional lacrosse career. Canadian, grew up playing hockey and lacrosse, and now is back playing lacrosse after, 8 years playing hockey. Really kind of interesting. So we'll talk with Zac about his transition back to the sport of lacrosse and what the FireWolves need to do to get out of the basement. Last place at 2-6.
He's got good hair. You'll like his hair.
Okay, great.
You can.
I don't like when people show me up though.
You can see flow out of the helmet, so he's one of the easier people to spot on the floor, even when you can't see his number because you got the hair.
Like that. Okay. This report came out Thursday afternoon. Again, we do the show live on a Thursday night. If you're catching us on TV over the weekend, Saturday night, My 4, Sunday morning, News Channel 13. This guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. Justin Tucker might be the best to ever do it from the place kicker position. Accused of inappropriate sexual behavior by multiple massage therapists.
Sounds
he has come out
like
Deshaun Watson. He has come out with a statement saying, the classic, it's unequivocally false. I'm going to let this one play out and see what happens, right? He is questioning the news report, and it's the Baltimore Banner and the newspaper allowing him to respond or to see the allegations before he responded and whatever. Don't know. But when there are multiple complaints, accusations, it's hard to not believe there's fire when there's so much smoke. And I just don't understand, guys.
Well, and my thing was
I just don't get
unless
it.
this was a few years ago, pre-Deshaun Watson, don't you start to realize not going to make that mistake. Learn from the other people around you. Obviously, be a good human, number one, would be super awesome. But when you can't do that, learn from the other bad humans around you. It's a skill set that's a lost art almost.
Yeah, there's no doubt. We'll see what happens there. This was an interesting comment Bill Belichick made on, I think it was Sirius XM with Jim Gray. He suggested renaming the Super Bowl champion trophy after Tom Brady. It's the Lombardi Trophy.
Right.
He's the head coach that won the first 2 ever Super Bowls, and so he got the trophy named after him. This reeks of somebody responding saying, oh, well, wait a minute. It's named after a head coach. It should be named after the winningest coach in Super Bowl. Oh, name it after Bill Belichick. The suggestion of changing the name, for me, is too convenient. When's the last time Belichick stumped for anything in regards to Tom Brady's legacy, greatness, right? We've always had Belichick versus Brady. Who deserves more credit? The suggestion of changing the name of the trophy just feels like he wants somebody to say, oh, wait, no. Name it to the head coach with the most Super Bowl trophy. Oh, that's Bill Belichick.
I was going to say, unless he was being humble and someone said, oh, Lombardi, he's only got so many Super Bowls. You got more than him. They should name it after you. And if he was like, no. If anybody, name it after Brady. That would be him being humble.
Yeah.
I don't know the context here.
That's not what happened.
Okay. Then I don't like it. It's stupid. People literally refer to the trophy as the Lombardi.
Yeah.
I want to get a Lombardi. I want to get a ring. I want to get a Lombardi trophy. Yeah. Almost as much as they would say they want to win a Super Bowl. So nope, it's done. It's a final thing. It's been named. You don't get renamed. You get one name in your life. You don't get to. Well, I guess you could choose a name, whatever name you want. We've learned that from Meta World Peace. But yeah, like the trophy has been named. Leave it alone. It's like you're talking about the George Washington of football. You can't then rename it just because you were better than him 50 years down the line. Leave it to George Washington and Vince Lombardi.
Yeah, I mean, you want to rename something, give Brady the Super Bowl MVP.
Right. Yep.
But what happens when Patrick Mahomes wins more Super Bowls or more Super Bowl MVPs than Tom Brady? Right, like, we're going to get in the mode.
Game we play.
I'm cool with naming the Super Bowl MVP trophy after Tom Brady. That's great. I think it should be named after a player. And Brady makes the most sense. So do that. And then it doesn't need to be renamed if a player surpasses him in any capacity. He's the first one to have won 7 Super Bowls. Yes, I agree. Give him something on that stage, right, that we recognize every single year. Speaking of quarterbacks, what do the Giants and Jets do at quarterback? It's funny, the suggestion of the Jets signing Sam Darnold. You can't. You just can't do that. I don't care how much sense it makes.
I know.
Just from a Woody Johnson franchise perspective, like, you can't now say, hey, we almost ruined you. Come back. And if you're Sam, there's no way you could go there.
Yeah, I don't think so. There are plenty of other systems that probably fit him better. He probably would tell you that was like the worst years of his life.
Well, and that was a defensive head coach with Todd Bowles. This is a defensive head coach with Aaron Glenn. It's not going to work.
Right. It's currently working where he has an offensive coach who is a quarterback whisperer with Kevin O'Connell currently. But my guess is they're not going to re-sign him unless they franchise tag him like you say they should, which I don't disagree. But yeah, I think he's got to go to an offensive-minded coach, or at least someone who's like a little more like Kevin O'Connell than Aaron Glenn. They are polar opposites. So I don't think that that's the route that the Giants would go, or the Jets would go. I wouldn't hate it if the Giants did.
Okay, what about the Giants?
I wouldn't hate it if the Giants did.
Number 3 overall pick. My suggestion for the Giants is sit at 3. If somebody surprises you,
with a trade.
Tennessee, Cleveland, and they don't take the top 2 quarterbacks on the board, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, or a team moves up ahead of you to take Travis Hunter,
then you take a quarterback.
Yeah, I would sit at 3, and I'm willing to take the best player on the board.
Because
that will either be Sanders or Hunter, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I was going to say it would be Cam or Sanders or Hunter. If you're good with one of those 3, then you sit there, and if someone knocks your socks off is going to give you a bunch of number 1s, and you feel like you don't need anybody up there, which I think would be stupid, but you could trade out of it. But yes, I agree. I think they should take whoever of those 3 is left. I just don't know that either of those 2 quarterbacks is going to work. So my hope is that the 2 teams in front of them pick the 2 quarterbacks available, that we take Travis Hunter and figure out the quarterback position afterwards. And whether that's taking another quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd or 4th round, I'm fine with it. Like, it's not going to cost you that much money. What's the big deal? It's better than blowing it on a pick. If you really don't think that Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders is going to be your franchise quarterback, why risk it with a 1st-round pick? You know that Travis Hunter is going to play somewhere on the field, maybe more than one place on the field. I don't know that you could go wrong with him.
Yeah, I think he's the safe pick of this draft. As much as I like Shedeur Sanders, there's always risk with a 1st-round quarterback. Ask the people who thought Trevor Lawrence was the greatest prospect since Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck.
And he still lasted longer than most.
He still has a ton of skill.
Yep.
But it's and we can blame coaching, but it's not working for him currently, right? So there's always risk associated with these first.
So what do they do? I don't really know. I think free agency is an option if you can get someone.
Should the Jets seriously consider bringing Aaron Rodgers back? I would love to see Rodgers go to the Raiders.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Carroll.
That'd be fun.
Brady.
Definitely Hard Knocks that. They've already done Raiders. Hard Knocks? Or no?
I don't know. They already did Rodgers and the Jets.
Okay.
It was entertaining.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I would love that. But like for me,
you got to move on from Rodgers. You can't.
Even if is Justin Fields willing to sign a 2-year contract and you don't have to pay him that much? I take him. because if he gets beat out by someone else down the line, then he's a really good backup. And I think he's a serviceable starter.
How many teams, having seen very little of Arch Manning, are already thinking about tanking in 2025?
I don't know. I think you have to know how very bad you're going to be in 2025. You can make enough moves in the offseason to go from like bad to mediocre.
Yeah,
or
but I'm
mediocre
talking about
to good.
not making those moves. I'm talking about fielding a somewhat serviceable team with an established enough head coach, right, who can endure that. And then you try to get the number 1 overall pick.
No, I don't.
I mean, it's crazy because
you don't tank that early. You tank when you know 8 games in that you're 2-6 and you're like, well, this probably isn't going to work, so let's do it. I don't think you tank before you've made any moves. That would be, I mean, you should almost be able to be like
very
thrown out.
Philadelphia 76ers.
It should almost be like betting on football. Like you should almost be.
I'm sure there'd be an investigation.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look at your offseason signings.
Yeah.
You have the lowest payroll in football. You know, what are you trying to do here?
Yeah.
You've invested your entire season starting Joe Flacco. Like, sorry, guys.
Right. You got to do better. You got to do better than that.
Yeah. It's like that stupid rule. What a stupid rule. I had no idea this existed in the NFL. So I almost call them the Redskins. The Commanders are trying to stop the tush push, which needs to be outlawed. And I've been saying it for years.
I don't really care. It doesn't bother me.
They're trying to stop the tush push. And you get a safety flying over the top. And the ref comes out and says, there's a warning for
because they did it multiple times.
Intentionally, whatever.
Encroachment. They're intentionally jumping off sides to try to stop.
I don't know if there's anything. He's not intentionally committing a penalty. He's trying to time the snap count to stop what is a bad football play. Mm-hmm. But like, I had no idea that was a rule. And they said
they could give him a touchdown for it because they were like at the 1.
Right. We could award him a
touchdown.
What are you kidding me?
The point I think is like you're being reckless. Time the play. This is the whole point of the play. Is like it's hard to stop. Okay, just because something is hard to stop doesn't mean you should make it illegal. And I'll take that to my grave.
Yeah, my argument is not, and I didn't mean to create a tangent here, but my argument is not to outlaw the tush push because it's difficult to stop. My argument is that it's not a football play. This is a rule that didn't used to exist. You weren't allowed forever. You weren't allowed to aid the runner.
Yeah.
Then they changed that rule. And now you see, even 30 yards down the field, you see a pileup. It's a rugby scrum, and they're pushing the guy another 10 yards.
I get that. But in fairness to the Eagles, so much of what they do on the 1 yard line, that he doesn't need the guy behind him. They're so good on the offensive line of like creating a V and he just dives in after it. Most of the time Jalen Hurts doesn't need anyone behind him. So it's not even the tush push. I think people don't even like their ability to QB sneak it the way that they do.
Oh, for sure. I mean, on 3rd and 2, they'll tush push it.
Yeah.
And they'll pick up 3.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's just this flow.
Yeah, it's like a wave. Yeah.
Wave of Eagles green. Yeah. I don't like it because it's rugby.
Yeah.
You got Saquon Barkley. Give the ball to him.
Well, they do. They do that too.
You know? All right. Zac Masson, Albany FireWolves, be his first experience in Buffalo. Ash, as you have said, it's a wild place to go play. Some,
he probably has been to Buffalo before, maybe in his life.
Indoor lacrosse.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's a good hockey town.
Oh, it's a great
Ask
hockey
Sabres
town.
fans, then they'll tell you it used to be a good hockey town. We're back in 45 seconds.
I'm Jeff Ukelek. I'm owner of Bevs, and we're a beverage center in upstate New York. You're just going to have that wow component when you come in like, wow, look at this place. It's bright, it's clean, it has everything that I need. Consumer is king. Be able to provide them a friendly environment and a place to shop, no matter where they are, whether they're down here in Saratoga or whether they're up in Queensbury. You're always going to get the same experience when you shop at Bevs. At the end of the day, if you walk in these stores, you're going to see a lot of people that have a lot of pride.
The great thing about novices, no matter who you are, they're going to put all the detail in the world into your brand. I feel like they have been a big part of my success, making me feel comfortable.
This is Harrison Butker, Super Bowl champion kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. Claim your crown.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alphen House.
Ash and Chris back with you. The voice is fading. And so it's perfect timing to
Good
bring
news
our
for you.
guests into the conversation. Here's Zac Masson, who is starring on defense for this Albany FireWolves team. And he's made quite the transition from professional hockey player now to professional lacrosse player. Is there anything this guy can't do? And Ash says he has really good hair.
He's
If it's
covering
better,
it up.
If it's better than mine, he's off the show.
He's
bring him into the
covering it up.
Yeah,
But he's got it. Come on,
some pretty
Zach,
good
go.
flow,
Give me a
man.
profile here.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Who has better hair, hockey players or lacrosse players?
I don't know. That's a toss-up. There's a lot of good hair in both sports, so I think that's a tie there.
Nothing to the idea of being less aerodynamic?
No, I definitely do feel though when you get a trim, the helmet fits a little looser. You got to tighten it up every time. But no, some guys swear by it. But I think there's maybe a little pep in your step after a haircut.
Okay.
Maybe this is only college lacrosse. I know this was the case at UAlbany, but
that's bad hair.
Yeah, but it wasn't even like a hair thing so much as it was like they wanted to look as ridiculous as possible, like handlebar mustaches and like the weirdest haircuts you've ever seen. A lot of mohawks going on, mullets, mohawks, all of it. I mean, they did it all. But do you feel like are lacrosse players weird in that way?
I don't know. I definitely saw that and thought that was there's some pretty wild stuff going on, and I figured like coaches I've had, I couldn't imagine doing that. I think you'd be getting a bit of trouble with that. But no, I'm not sure. I don't know if that was like a lacrosse thing or if they were just the first to do it, and then I'm sure there's probably some other sports, so football and stuff like that, where they have fun with the headshot day.
Yeah, I was just saying lacrosse players are competitive. So everyone then gets competitive about having the weirdest headshots, which gets interesting too. Zach, you've got maybe one of the most interesting stories. You're not the only guy who's ever gone from playing hockey to lacrosse. I know Dawson Feed, I believe, was a hockey player and is now back playing in the NLL. But you probably did it for the longest time and you weren't playing lacrosse at the same time. Can you take us through your journey? Because there are probably people out there who don't know this about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always been a dual sport athlete my whole life, and played 5 years junior A in Orangeville with the Northmen there in lacrosse, and was playing both. I was playing junior hockey and lacrosse, and then while I was playing junior hockey, my goal was to earn a Division I scholarship for hockey. So I achieved that. I went to Alaska for hockey, and when I went to school, I decided to kind of direct all my energy into one sport and take the opportunity to just focus in on one thing. Kind of put lacrosse on the back burner. And then time kind of flew by, and I earned 2 degrees while I was at school, and played a year of pro hockey overseas in Paris, France. And then I was down south in the U.S., in Birmingham, Alabama, and Atlanta, Georgia, the last couple of years playing, and then just decided to pick up the stick again.
Was there ever? Yeah, I mean, you picked Alaska and Birmingham.
Paris, France, Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, Alaska. I mean, the culture shock had to be wild.
Yeah, so that was one thing I always joked about is, it's opposite ends of the spectrum going from Alaska to Paris to start with. And then, and then down to the south. It was, so it's kind of cool. And I really enjoyed all 3 places. They're all really cool places to live, and was very fortunate to experience that. Who's
nicer, Canadians or people with Southern hospitality?
That's a tough one. The Southern hospitality is very true. And, while we were down there, we certainly experienced that. And, I was very surprised that, how big a hockey fans and community they are there. And, they've had it kind of off and on for a number of years, and, the old Western Hockey League and stuff like that. And, people were saying they saw like Gretzky play as a rookie in like the league they used to have back in the day. So, it was the Southern hospitality was very, very real, and they took really good care of us. Always homemade meals after the games and everything, and like a big buffet spread. So,
all right, better food, France or Alabama?
That's a tough one. I think I'd maybe have to go with France, just because there's a little bit of everything there. Like I wouldn't say French cuisine itself is known as being on the top of people's list, but they had stuff from all over the world there. I mean, it's a major city, so they had a little bit of everything there. So
you gave us something. Sorry, this has gone totally off the rails because you're so interesting. That's your fault. You gave us something interesting about Birmingham. What was something that surprised you about Paris and then also Alaska?
Paris would probably be the fans there, or like that was something to, because they're like soccer fans there. They chant the whole game. They have like some teams will have drums in the arena, so like that took a bit to get used to. At the start of games, like my first couple times experience it, I couldn't hear anything going on. It was just like overload of noise going on. But you settle in and get used to that. So that was really cool to experience that, because I'd never experienced that in hockey or lacrosse in a rink. That kind of enthusiasm from the fans. And then Alaska was just the whole experience was really cool. I still remember, everybody remember seeing their first moose when they're up there, and we were all the freshmen were in the same morning class our first year, and the moose walks by the window, and we're all taking videos and pictures of it, and their teacher, like everyone else, and the people from Alaska, they're all kind of looking at us. They're like, "Oh, your first moose." But yeah, it was really cool up there. Lots of beautiful scenery and nature.
Were there any nerves making the transition back to hockey here at
lacrosse.
to lacrosse at such a high level?
A little bit, just because it didn't seem like that much time had passed, and it definitely was a little bit of catching up to do. But I'd still had my sticks in my hand on and off in the summers and stuff, playing with friends and throwing the ball around. So, and a lot of this stuff you do training for hockey is, a lot of like ground-based stuff that, like lacrosse and running and stuff like that. So kept up a lot of like the movement patterns and stuff like that. But definitely it's a little bit of nerves for sure, getting back into the swing of things.
What was the hardest thing to get used to? I know you said from training camp to like week 3, it was like a huge difference. What was the toughest part of just getting back into the sport?
I think it was just getting reps and just, moving at game speed and, passing and catching on the run and, different, getting all the reads again and stuff, getting reps, reading, timing and spacing and all that, kind of the same as the start of any season, where you have to get a few reps in to get comfortable again. But that was probably the biggest thing. But I did a lot of work, over the summer and then the preseason with my coach. G was a strong athlete. We worked together for a long time, and he'd actually seen me play in Orangeville. So I think he was enjoying the process too, and get me prepared to come back to lacrosse.
Is the shift tougher in the NLL or in hockey?
I don't know. I think not being able to glide on skates is it's definitely tough. That 30 seconds it's an all-out 30 seconds. So yeah, I think it depends on the shift, but I think it maybe the edge would maybe go to lacrosse on that one.
What about the logistics on the bench? Take us inside the timing of it, the decisions that get made. Is it easier in hockey because you're rolling lines?
Yeah.
Or it's like you kind of know when it's your turn to go as a line. In the NLL, it seems more dependent on the coaches and the door guy.
Possession swings, the door.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say maybe more straightforward in lacrosse, just because most teams will run 2 lines of 5D, and then when you if you get into a little bit of a track meet, it's kind of just whoever's ready to go, whoever's fresh. But getting just to that a little bit, and then the nice thing about having whistles, you kind of get half second to kind of who's up, and face off teams. You obviously have time to figure out who's going out on the face off and stuff like that. In hockey, sometimes you'll change the way you're rolling the lines. Sometimes you go 1-2, 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 4, depending on your lineup setup or whatnot. So, but yeah, it's good. It's kind of cool to see the parallels between the two.
I was going to say, you're going to a hockey town this weekend. You're really going to a football town this weekend. It's become a football town anyway. Buffalo. And they're a lacrosse town, to be very honest with you. I mean, this is a town that puts 18,000 on a bad night into their arena and packs it. And it's just absolutely wild. How much are you looking forward to? Obviously, tough start for you guys, but a win there would mean as much as any win for any team this season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really cool place to play, and I've watched some games there when they've had a pretty packed house. So I think that'll be a lot of fun, cool atmosphere to play in. And obviously, it doesn't matter who we're playing this week. It's we need to earn a win this week, and I think it's a great opportunity to do that. And obviously, it could be a really good momentum builder for us.
And obviously an important game for what the NLL does. Tucker out lymphoma.
Yep.
Right. They're going to do that in Buffalo this weekend. And the Bandits are 5-0 this year, right?
More cool jerseys.
Yeah, really cool. Chiefs and Eagles. Do you care?
I think I'd have to go with most of the country, probably lean towards the Eagles.
Tired of the Chiefs winning. Are you an American football fan really at all?
I do like to watch football. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not. I don't really have a particular team, that I root for. There's a few teams I would root for and cheer for. But I usually just watch all the primetime games that I can catch on TV. But yeah, not. I think I just like to see the Eagles, get it done in the rematch. But I'm sure it'll be a really good game. How about you guys?
Look at him whipping out his knowledge.
I'm rooting for the Chiefs just because I have a hard time with Philadelphia fans.
As bad as it is, I think I've said I was rooting for the Chiefs, but I think I'm just sick of them, and I might root for the Eagles, even though I'm a Giants fan, which is like sacrilegious in a lot of ways. Love Saquon Barkley. He's my guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Zach. Good luck this weekend,
Thank
man,
you so much.
and the rest of the season. Really good chatting with you, man. This is fun and interesting. And congrats on making the transition, dude. Not easy to do, and you've done it. Made it look easy.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Of course.
Zac Masson, Albany FireWolves defenseman. They go to Buffalo this weekend. ESPN Plus.
Big game.
Yeah, my 4.
My 4.
All right, our Marcellus MVP of the month. We've already talked about him a little
Just
bit.
mentioned him.
We've got more to do on this guy, though.
It's time for the MVP of the month, sponsored by Marcella's Appliance Center.
Our guys over at Marcella's, Johnny and Nick, and our MVP of the month.
I just said, love that guy.
You did. Saquon Barkley, 442 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns in 3 playoff games.
I'm not that good at math, but that's about 110 yards, 112 yards.
119 against Green Bay, 205, I think, against the Rams, and then 118 last week against Washington.
Boy.
3 touchdowns against Washington. They ran for 7 touchdowns as a team, Philadelphia.
Oh, that's way more than one. I just said 150, 112. It's way more than that. 3 games, sorry.
And he did not break the regular season rushing record. They chose not to play him in week 18. And even if he passed Eric Dickerson there, Dickerson could have said, well, you played 18
one more,
games.
yeah, one more game. Yeah.
But what Barkley can do here is set the all-time season rushing record counting the playoffs. And he will do that because he's only 30 yards short of what Terrell Davis did in 1998, I believe, was the year, the second of the Broncos' back-to-back Super Bowl titles. So he will do that. It's not as widely recognized as Dickerson's 2105 or whatever it is.
I sort of wish he would win MVP.
Still pretty cool.
And I know he won't, but he sort of maybe should.
But he could win Super Bowl MVP.
He could. He probably won't win that either.
Because the Chiefs are going to win?
Probably.
Or because it goes to a quarterback?
No, but it always goes to a quarterback.
That's why we should name it after Tom
But if
Brady.
the Eagles win, I say Barkley wins MVP.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, I think you're probably right. All right, we'll be back Super Bowl week next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.